period of time. In New York, Craig Boswell, Fox News.
So what is next for Japan, and what would happen if we were to have a nuclear crisis here in America? Well, Tom Filburn is an associate professor of engineering at the University of Hartford. He also worked at the Millstone 2 power plant. He has extensive knowledge on nuclear energy, and he's here with more to talk about this. Good to see you, Tom. Thanks for coming in.
Good morning.
Want to give me your assessment on what you think is happening there in Japan and what needs to happen?
Well, obviously, they've had a severe accident at the plant. The earthquake, I think they were designed for that, and the piping systems, the plant itself survived that. The tsunami came along, wiped out their backup power supplies, and you'd say, well, why the backup power supplies are important? Well, it's really keeping water and coolant to these fuel elements. Nuclear power is different than our fossil fuel power plants. When you turn off a fossil fuel power plant, everything stops. When you turn off a nuclear power plant, there's still decay energy. Fission process takes large atoms and breaks them apart. Well, those atoms that are created by the fission are unstable. They want to go to a different molecule atom, and so they give off energy as they get to a stable point, and that happens for hours, days after the fission process is stopped. So we need to keep coolant supplied to these both reactors and the spent fuel pools.
There was one reactor in particular where the Japanese said that water is getting there to cool these fuel rods, but then some U.S. officials are saying it doesn't believe as though water is getting to those particular fuel rods. What happens if these fuel rods don't get cooled and there's a major meltdown?
There are multiple barriers to protect the public from these radioactivities. There are the ceramic pellets that are the fuel itself. There are metal cladding surrounding those. There are the reactor vessels that are inches thick metal, and there's concrete containment surrounding all that. That's for the reactor vessel, and then the spent fuel it's really just the ceramic, the metal, and then the water in that pool that protects us from the radioactivity. It looks like at least one of the spent fuel pools lost all its water, which allowed the decay energy to build up inside these fuel elements and actually allow them to melt. So the ceramic and the metal cladding were gone, so the radioactive particles could escape from them, and that's where we saw the spikes in radiation at the plants.
Are we going to start seeing people die from this radiation exposure?
From the levels that I've seen, you're not going to see any prompt deaths, and I'm not as familiar with the statistics of long-term cancer deaths from different radiation exposure levels, but I think right now it would be difficult to predict that there'd be many deaths.
We've been watching the wind flow, and it's been flowing out to sea, which everybody says is good news. If it were to start flowing towards Tokyo, which is about 150 miles away, what would be happening there?
Again, you're getting outside my area of experience. The dispersion, plume dispersion, there's a separate, you almost need Joe Fury to talk to us about how far these particles could carry as opposed to me speculating on something.
The U.S. is suggesting that United States residents need to be at least 50 miles away from these reactors, and I think the Japanese is saying it's more around the 12 to 15 mile area. If you were there in that area, how far would you be from the reactors?
I would take if it's the U.S. NRC giving advice saying 50 miles, I would take their advice and follow that. I think their experience with these reactors is enough that I would follow their advice.
I'm going to read you something that some U.S. officials are saying. They're saying that if they do not get control, they being the Japanese, of these plants within the next 24 to 48 hours, they could have a situation that will be deadly for decades. Do you agree with that?
Deadly in the near-term area, meaning that the radioactive contamination that's in the spent fuel, in the fuel that's inside the reactor vessels, cannot be recaptured. It's going to escape if they don't get control soon, and that's what I think they're referring to.
Tom Filburn from the University of Hartford. Thanks, Tom.
All right, thank you.
We appreciate your time, and we'll, of course, continue to follow this, as will all of the news stations, I'm sure. Sarah, over.